There are exactly 3 lies you have believed about yourself your entire life. Not just little white lies, not harmless misconceptions. These are the foundational deceptions upon which your entire identity has been constructed. And here's what makes this so devastating. You don't experience them as lies, you experience them as the most obvious truths about who you are. They feel so self-evident, so natural, so undeniably real that questioning them seems absurd. This is precisely why they have such power over you. Eckhart Tolle calls these false identifications. Maurice Nicoll, another great teacher, described them as a fictitious self-image and so powerful that destroying it seems almost impossible. He wrote that this absurd thing, composed of self-evident lies, has strength that is extraordinary. Today, we're going to examine each of these 3 lies directly, and I must warn you, once you truly see them, something changes permanently. You cannot go back to believing them with the same conviction. The spell begins to break. This is not comfortable. The ego will resist. You may feel something tightening in your chest as we proceed. That resistance is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that we are approaching something real. So, let's begin with the first lie. The first lie. I am my thoughts. This is perhaps the most pervasive deception of human existence. You have a continuous stream of mental commentary running through your consciousness, from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep. This voice evaluates, judges, worries, plans, remembers, anticipates. It tells you stories about your life. It interprets every situation. It never stops. And you believe this voice is you. When a thought arises that says, I am not good enough, you do not observe it as a passing mental event. You feel it as a truth about your identity. When anxiety appears in your mind, you do not notice it as a temporary weather pattern moving through consciousness. You become anxious. The thought and you merge into one. This identification is so complete that most people never question it. Think about what happens when someone insults you. The words enter your ears. Your mind interprets them. Thoughts arise in response, perhaps anger, perhaps hurt, perhaps defensive justifications, and immediately, without any gap, you feel personally attacked, you feel diminished, you feel that something has happened to you. But what actually happened? Sound waves moved through air. Your brain processed them into meaning. Mental patterns activated. Emotions followed. At no point did anything touch what you actually are. Only thoughts. Reacted to thoughts. Tolle points this out with devastating simplicity. When you say, I am angry, you are making a statement of identity. You are claiming that anger is what you are in that moment. But is this true? Or is it more accurate to say, there is anger present in consciousness right now? The difference seems subtle. It is actually everything. When anger is what you are, you have no freedom. You are consumed by the emotion. You will act from that. Anger. You will say things you regret. You will damage relationships. The emotion controls you because you believe you are it. When anger is something present in consciousness, you maintain awareness. You can observe the anger. You can feel its energy without being swept away by it. You remain the space in which the anger appears rather than becoming the anger itself. This is the beginning of freedom, but the lie runs deeper than emotions. It extends to your entire sense of self. You have a story about who you are. This story has been building since childhood. It includes your memories, your interpretations of what happened to you, your conclusions about your capabilities and limitations, and your roles, your relationships, your failures, your successes. This narrative feels like the essence of your identity. It is not. Tolle is very clear about this. What you call your life is actually a story in your mind. It is a selective arrangement of memories, filtered through interpretation. It is not what happened. It is what you think happened, colored by how you felt, shaped by what you concluded, reinforced by years of retelling it to yourself. And this story keeps running. It tells you what you can and cannot do. It tells you what you deserve and do not deserve. It defines the boundaries of what is possible for you. It maintains the prison walls of your identity. The thoughts are not you. The story is not you. What you actually are is the awareness in which thoughts arise. You are the consciousness that notices the mental activity. You are what remains when thinking stops, which it occasionally does, in moments of deep presence, and you discover that you still exist. In fact, you exist more fully in those gaps than you ever do when thinking dominates. This is not philosophy. This is something you can verify directly right now. Close your eyes for a moment. Watch the next thought that arises. Simply observe it. Do not engage with it. Just notice it. Did you see it? Here is the question that changes everything. Who was watching? Who noticed the thought? If you can observe your thoughts, then you cannot be your thoughts. The observer and the observed cannot be the same thing. Something in you is aware of the mental activity. That awareness is closer to what you actually are than any thought has ever been. The first lie begins to dissolve when you recognize that thoughts are visitors, not residents. They come and go. You remain. The sky does not become the cloud that pass through it. You do not become the thoughts that move through consciousness. Most people live their entire lives believing they are their thoughts. They never discover the vast awareness that exists behind the mental noise. This is like spending your whole life watching a movie screen so intently that you forget you are sitting in a theater. The screen seems to be all there is, but the theater contains the screen. The screen does not contain the theater. You are the theater. Thoughts are the movie. Now, let us move to the second lie. And this one may disturb you even more because it attacks something you hold very dear. The second lie. I am my personal history. You believe you are the sum of what has happened to you. Your childhood experiences, your traumas, your achievements, your relationships, your education, your career, the people who hurt you, the people who helped you, the decisions you made, the opportunities you missed. All of this, woven together, forms what you consider to be your identity. Ask someone who they are, and they will tell you their story. I grew up in this place. My parents were like this. I went to this school, so I had this experience and that shaped me. I am someone who has been through these things. This feels like identity. It is actually imprisonment. The ego needs the past to survive. Without the story of what happened, without the narrative of who you have been, the ego has nothing to maintain itself. It would dissolve into the present moment, which is precisely what it fears most. So it keeps the past alive, not as neutral memory, but as active identity. The wounds remain wounds. The limitations remain limitations. The definitions remain definitions. But here is what Eckhart Tolle wants you to understand deeply. The past does not exist. This is not a mystical statement. This is literal truth. Where is yesterday? Can you touch it? Can you find it anywhere except in thought? The past exists only as memory, which is thought arising in the present. The future exists only as anticipation, which is also thought arising in the present. Only this moment is real. When you identify with your personal history, you are identifying with thought forms. You are giving reality to mental constructs. You are claiming that these images and stories in your mind are who you essentially are. They are not. Consider this. Every cell in your body has been replaced multiple times since the events of your past occurred. The person those things happened to, biologically speaking, no longer exists. The body that experienced your childhood trauma has completely renewed itself, yet you still carry the identity of that experience. Why? Because the ego maintains it through thought. There is a story Eckhart Tolle tells about a woman who identified deeply with her suffering. She had experienced genuine tragedy, real loss, real pain, but decades later, she still defined herself by these events. When she spoke about herself, she spoke about what had happened to her. Her tragedy had become her identity. Eckhart Tolle asked her a simple question: who would you be without your story? The question terrified her, because she realized that without the story of her suffering, she did not know who she was. The suffering had become so central to her identity that releasing it felt like annihilation. This is the trap. The pain body, as Eckhart Tolle calls it, feeds on identification with past suffering. It wants you to keep the wounds open. It wants you to revisit the hurts. It wants the story to continue because the story is how the ego maintains its existence. But you are not your story. You are the presence that is here now, right now, in this moment. Where is your personal history? It is not here. Only awareness is here. Only aliveness is here. Only presence is here. The past is a thought that can arise in this presence, but it is not the presence itself. This does not mean memories disappear. This does not mean you develop amnesia about your life. It means you stop deriving your sense of identity from those memories. You can remember without identifying. You can acknowledge what happened without being defined by it. There is enormous freedom in this recognition. The trauma that occurred does not need to be who you are. The failures in your past do not need to limit your present. The labels you accumulated over the years do not need to define what is possible now. Each moment offers complete freshness if you can step out of the story. But the ego resists this fiercely. It whispers, "But this really happened to me. This is who I am." You cannot just let go of your past. And it is right that these things happened, but it is wrong that they are who you are. Events occurred. A body and mind experienced them. Interpretations were formed. And now, decades later, those interpretations continue to play as identity. You have the power to observe this process and withdraw your identification from it. This is not denial. This is not repression. This is recognition that you are the awareness in which all experience appears, not the content of the experience itself. The second lie keeps you trapped in time. It keeps you living in a mental reconstruction of the past, rather than in the vivid reality of now. It keeps you reacting to situations based on what happened before, rather than responding to what is actually present. When you truly see this lie, something remarkable happens. The weight of the past begins to lift, not because the past is forgotten, but because it is put in its proper place. It becomes information available to awareness rather than the substance of identity. You are not what happened to you. You are the presence that remains after everything that has happened. Now we come to the third lie. This one is the most subtle and perhaps the most dangerous, because it masquerades as ambition, as improvement, as the natural human desire for growth. The third lie: I will be complete when. Fill in the blank with anything you want. I will be complete when I achieve success. I will be complete when I find the right relationship. I will be complete when I have enough money. I will be complete when I become enlightened. I will be complete when I fix my problems. I will be complete when I become a better version of myself. This lie keeps billions of people running on a treadmill their entire lives. The ego operates on a fundamental assumption. There is something wrong with this moment. This moment is not enough. Fulfillment exists somewhere in the future. And if I work hard enough, achieve enough, accumulate enough, become enough, I will finally arrive at that place where I feel complete. That place does not exist. Eckhart Tolle is uncompromising about this. The present moment is all you ever have. There is never a time when your life is not this moment. If you cannot be at peace now, you will never be at peace. Because when the future arrives, it arrives as the present moment, and your habit of seeking completion somewhere else will immediately project another future where completion supposedly awaits. Watch how this operates in your own mind. There is a constant sense that something is missing. A subtle dissatisfaction runs underneath most of your experience. Even when things are going well, there is an undercurrent of waiting for something more. The mind says, yes, this is good, but it will be better when. Or, this is nice, but it is not quite it. There is always another goal, another milestone, another condition that needs to be met before you can fully relax into life. This is the ego's survival strategy. As long as you believe completion is in the future, you remain identified with the seeking mind. You remain in time. You remain psychologically imprisoned by the belief that who you are right now is not enough. Consider the absurdity of this. You believe you will become complete through accumulation, more achievements, more possessions, more experiences, more knowledge, more spiritual progress, more of something. But the you that will have all these things is the same you that is here now without them. When you achieve the goal, the same consciousness will be present, the same awareness, and the same you will be looking out through your eyes. You will still be fundamentally you, only now, potentially weighed down with additional baggage. The feeling of incompleteness, that gnawing sense that something's missing, doesn't come from lacking material things. It stems from identification with the ego, which, by its very nature, is incomplete. The ego is a mental construct, an illusion we build for ourselves. It has no true substance. It must constantly and desperately reinforce itself through external validation, through achievement, and through ceaseless future projection, because it has no real ground of its own, no solid foundation. This is why millionaires, those who seem to have it all, are often still unsatisfied when they finally reach that milestone. They almost immediately want to be billionaires, to climb even higher. This is why famous people, adored by millions, are rarely content with their fame. They crave more recognition, more adoration. This is why even spiritual seekers, people who should know better, often spend decades chasing enlightenment, treating it as just another achievement, another trophy to acquire. The third lie, the belief in future completion, creates a constant, relentless future orientation, and this future orientation, this obsession with what's to come is just another way of saying absence from life, absence from the now. Life, real life, is only ever happening now. The future is a mental projection, a story we tell ourselves. When you live exclusively for the future, you're living in thought, in anticipation, not in reality. You miss the only thing that is actually real. This moment, this breath, this aliveness. Eckhart Tolle reminds us of those people who spend their entire lives preparing to live. They're always getting ready for something, constantly working towards something, building towards some distant, idealized goal. And the actual living, the experience of being truly alive, keeps getting postponed, relegated to some imaginary future point, a promised land that never arrives, because it cannot arrive. The future is a mental concept, an illusion. Only now, only this moment, is real. Here is what this third lie so cleverly conceals. You, as you are, right now, are already complete, not as an ego. Of course, The ego is inherently incomplete, and always will be. But as consciousness, as awareness, as the presence that you actually are. Underneath the swirling mental noise, you lack nothing. This probably sounds like some airy-fairy, spiritual platitude, until you actually experience it, until you truly feel it, and you have experienced it. Probably without even recognizing it. Have you ever had a moment, a fleeting instant, of such complete presence that the seeking mind, that constant internal chatter, temporarily stopped, perhaps while immersed in nature, maybe while watching a breathtaking sunset over the Pacific, perhaps in a moment of deep intimacy with someone you love, maybe while lost in creative flow, or perhaps in some entirely unexpected moment when time seemed to simply stop, and you were just here, fully present, without wanting anything to be different. In those moments, and those precious and fleeting moments, did you feel incomplete? No, of course not. Those moments, those glimpses of truth, carry a distinct quality of wholeness, of fullness, of needing absolutely nothing, the relentless. Seeking mind has temporarily retired, taken a back seat, and what remains? What shines through is pure being, and pure being, the essence of who you are, is inherently complete. This isn't something you need to achieve, something you need to strive for. This is simply what you are. When you stop believing you need to achieve it, when you stop chasing the illusion, the third lie, that promise of future completion, keeps you running, keeps you striving, keeps you forever, never quite arriving. It keeps you treating this moment, this precious, irreplaceable moment, as a mere means to an end, rather than recognizing it as the only place, the only reality, where life actually happens. When you see through this lie, when the illusion shatters, something extraordinary, something truly transformative occurs. The frantic, desperate quality of life, the constant underlying anxiety, begins to dissolve. The desperate, relentless seeking for completion finally relaxes. You can still have goals. Of course, you can still create on and contribute and participate fully in the world, but you do so from a sense of fullness, from a place of inherent worth, rather than from a place of lack, from a desperate attempt to fill an empty void. There is a world of difference, an unbridgeable gulf, between action that arises from presence, from a place of inner peace, and action that arises from the ego's desperate, frantic attempt to become complete, to prove its worth. Action from presence is creative, flowing, appropriate to the situation. It responds to what is truly needed, without the filter of ego. It doesn't carry the anxious energy of someone who believes, on a subconscious level, that they will utterly fall apart, that they will cease to exist if they do not succeed. Action from ego, on the other hand, is strained, forced, desperate. It carries the immense weight of identity, the crushing burden of needing to be someone. Success, in this paradigm, must happen, because failure, unthinkable as it is, means I am worthless. Achievement, recognition, admiration must occur, because without it, I am nothing. You can feel the difference in your own body, the subtle, yet unmistakable, tension or ease, when you are acting from these two very different places. Now, let's take a step back and see how these three lies, these insidious, self-perpetuating beliefs, interconnect. They form a perfect, self-contained prison. The first lie, remember, tells you that you are your thoughts, that your inner monologue is you. This creates identification with the mental realm, with the ceaseless stream of consciousness. You believe, fundamentally, that the voice in your head, the narrator of your life, is who you are. The second lie builds upon this foundation, telling you that you are your personal history, that you are defined by your past. This creates identification with time, with the endless chain of cause and effect. You believe that who you have been, the sum total of your experiences, irrevocably determines who you are and who you are destined to be. The third lie, the final brick in the wall, tells you that you will be complete someday, in the elusive, distant future. This creates identification with seeking, with striving, with a constant, unfulfilled longing. You believe, deep down, that what you are now, in this present moment, is simply not enough. Together, these three lies work in perfect, devastating harmony to construct a self-image, a false identity that has no basis in reality. The ego, this fragile, now fabricated construct, is made of thoughts, bound to the past, and perpetually reaching, grasping, toward a future that never comes. This is not who you are. This is a fictional character, an elaborate, compelling story that consciousness has mistakenly, tragically, identified with. Seeing through these lies, recognizing them for what they are, is what Eckhart Tolle so eloquently calls awakening. Not some dramatic event, not some spiritual fireworks show, some sudden, earth-shattering revelation. Simply the quiet, profound recognition of what has always been true, underneath the layers of deception, underneath the noise and the illusion. You are not your thoughts, any more than you are the clouds drifting across the sky. You are the awareness, the vast, boundless sky in which those thoughts, those mental formations, appear and disappear. You are not your past, with all its triumphs and traumas, its joys and its sorrows. You are the presence, the still, unwavering point of awareness that exists only now, unburdened by yesterday, and unconcerned with tomorrow. You are not incomplete, lacking, or deficient in any way. You are the fullness, the inherent wholeness that seeks nothing, that needs nothing, because it already is everything. This is not a belief, a concept to be intellectually grasped. This is recognition, a dawning awareness, a felt sense of truth that resonates deep within your being, and it changes everything, fundamentally, irrevocably. But here is what Eckhart Tolle, wisely, also emphasizes: simply seeing these lies, intellectually understanding them, is not enough. The ego is cunning, incredibly clever. It will readily incorporate this understanding, this newfound wisdom, and use it, perversely, to further strengthen itself. Oh yes, it will say, I understand that I am not my thoughts. This is now part of my spiritual identity. I am so enlightened. Look how evolved I am. This is just another thought, another story, another lie, cleverly disguised, dressed in spiritual clothing. The seeing, the recognition, must be actual, not merely conceptual. You must directly experience the awareness, the vast, silent space that exists behind thought, beyond the endless chatter. You must directly feel the presence, the unwavering stillness that does not need the past, that is not defined by its history. You must directly recognize the completeness, the inherent wholeness that is already, always, here. This happens spontaneously, unexpectedly, in moments of true presence, not understanding presence, but actually being presence. When you are fully present, grounded in the now, the three lies, those insidious, self-perpetuating beliefs, simply cannot operate. Thoughts may still arise, of course, but you do not identify with them. You do not cling to them. The past may still be remembered, recalled from memory, but it does not define you. It does not dictate your future. The future may still be anticipated, planned for, even longed for, but you do not need it to be complete, to be whole, to be worthy. In presence, you are free of the lies, liberated from their grip, without having to fight them, without having to struggle. This is why Eckhart Tolle and so many other spiritual teachers place such emphasis on the present moment, not as a concept to understand, not as a technique to master, but as the only reality to inhabit, the only place where true freedom can be found. The lies, those insidious, self-perpetuating beliefs, exist in time, in the realm of past and future. Presence, the unwavering awareness of now, is the exit from time, the doorway to liberation. When you are fully here, fully present, the prison, the false identity, dissolves, because the prisoner, the fictional self, that believed the lies, as was itself a lie. What remains, in the absence of the false self, is simply what is: awareness, pure and unadulterated, aliveness, vibrant and undeniable, being, the essence of who you truly are. This cannot be adequately put into words because it is prior to word and beyond the reach of language, but it can be recognized and felt, experienced. And in that recognition, in that direct experience, and to freedom is found. You have believed these three lies, these insidious, self-perpetuating beliefs, for most, if not all, of your entire life. They were installed by culture, by education, by the unconscious humans around you, parents, teachers, friends, who also, unknowingly, believed them. You were not at fault for believing them, for internalizing them. Everyone, to some degree, believes them until they wake up, until they see the truth. But now, you have seen them named, identified, exposed. You've seen how these lies operate. You've glimpsed the possibility that they aren't true. Something within you knows this is right. As something in you has always suspected that the story you were told about yourself was too small, too limited, too confined. That something is your true self, recognizing itself. This resonates with Eckhart Tolle's teachings, pointing towards self-discovery. The lies won't disappear overnight. They have too much momentum. The ego has too much invested in maintaining them. But every time you notice that you're believing a thought instead of observing it, the first lie weakens. Every time you feel the pull of the past and recognize it as a pull toward identification rather than simply information, the second lie weakens. Every time you catch yourself believing that something needs to happen before you can be at peace, the third lie weakens. This is the path of awakening, not a sudden explosion of light, a gradual dissolving of darkness, a journey Eckhart Tolle often describes. You are not who you thought you were. You are so much more, so much vaster, so much freer. The one who believed the lies was itself a lie. What you actually are has been here all along, waiting quietly behind the noise, untouched by any story, complete in itself, needing nothing. This isn't something to achieve in the future. This is something to recognize now, echoing sentiments from figures like Maurice Nicoll, who emphasized present moment awareness, right now, in this very moment. The awareness that is reading these words, the consciousness that is receiving this message, the presence that exists behind your thoughts about these concepts, that is what you are. It has never believed any lie. It has never been bound by any story. It has never been incomplete. It has simply been waiting for you to notice. It has been here all along, and perhaps the most profound realization is this: the very awareness that is listening to these words right now is the same awareness that exists in every conscious being. It is not personal. It is universal. When you awaken to what you truly are, you awaken to what everyone truly is, beneath their lies, beneath their stories, beneath their desperate seeking. This is why awakened beings throughout history have spoken of love and compassion as natural states, not love as an emotion that comes and goes. Love as the recognition that the consciousness in you is the consciousness in everyone. The separation was always an illusion, another lie. When you see through the three lies about yourself, you simultaneously see through the illusion of separation from others. The same ego that created a false self also created false boundaries between you and the world in the space of presence. There is no inside and outside. There is simply awareness, vast and borderless, temporarily appearing as individual forms, but never actually divided. This is freedom. This is peace. This is what you have always been looking for, in all the wrong places. And it was here all along, waiting, patient, complete. Now, you know.